Okay, in this video we're going to go over how to take off the intake assembly on a 1995 325i. This is the e36 series BMW. And essentially what I'm talking about is all this stuff right here that leads up to the intake manifold. So we're going to start with the air intake, the MAF sensor, then we're taking off the intake boot. On my car I have the ASC plus T traction control module, and then the throttle body itself. Okay, so first step should always be to disconnect the negative terminal of the car before you do any work on the vehicle. So your BMW will come with the appropriate tool to do that, or you can grab a 13mm wrench. When it comes up here, we just want to loosen that. Get it loose, loosen it with your fingers, it's still too tight. There we go. Pull it up.
Pull it up and put something in the way to block the connection. Don't skip this step. Put something there, because if you just leave it hanging, it will slowly move back over and could short.
Okay, to start, we're going to take off the air intake. This is the factory box. We have this connection here, which on my car is loose, so make sure that's detached. Two 10mm nuts, and then the clips that attach this onto the vehicle. So we're going to start by removing the nuts. Loosen them up. You can use a wrench as well. I just find it easiest with the deep socket. Standard socket's going to be a little short. Remove the, actually I forget what that is. Cruise control module, that's what it is. Alright, now to take these off, we're going to use a flathead. Okay. I'll come and pop one, pop two. Oh, we also have the air temperature sensor right there that needs to come off. I believe that's also a 10mm. So what you can do, pull it up a little bit, try not to stress it. Let me check here. It's a 10. That one's not that tight. It's just pretty much enough to hold it on there. Now we can remove the sensor. The reason I paused to disconnect the battery is because we don't want any shorting between the sensors. I mean, I've got the alternator here, and times when I've forgot to disconnect the battery, or I thought I'll just rush through it, sometimes you get shorts, you know, and especially when you're working on an older car. This car being over 20 years old, you never know what insulation has failed, so always disconnect that battery.
At this point, you can go ahead and remove the air filter intake assembly. I was getting a little ahead of myself here and forgot, as you'll see later on at the end of the video.
Okay, moving on, we're going to remove the MAF sensor. So first we're going to disconnect the wiring harness. Okay, just throw it aside. Now a lot of people, because you know it's commonly available, will use a slotted screwdriver or a flathead, and I just think life is too short to mess with that because this shit always slips around, so fuck that. I'm going to grab the 6mm hex and make life easy. No slippage at all. That's very easy to do with one hand. Okay. that's loose, pull out your math, set it aside. Now we're at the intake boot. We're going to do the same thing. Now, your intake boot on your E36 is going to have either 1 or 2 hose connections on the bottom, depending on if you have the traction control built into your car or not. Mine does, so I have 1 hose connection on the bottom. Oh damn, that thing is still on there. So when you pull this off, keep that in mind. I'm going to be a little rougher with my intake boot because I'm replacing it. These things crack a lot, but you do want to be careful when you pull it off because they tear up right here. See, I've tried to seal mine up with silicone, and that doesn't want to come off. I'm going to put the camera down for a second. Alright, when you take this off, it helps to use a flathead to get in between the boot and pry it off because it's got a lip right there that the rubber's inserted into. With the camera there you go. So once that's off, just pry it off, and there's the hose on the bottom. Okay. Now it will also have a connector, which may or may not come off freely. I just disassembled this last weekend, so it came off pretty easy because I had some silicone lubricant. There's a connector. This hose I'm going to be replacing as well, but that's the hose that connects if you have the traction control. Alright, where are we? This is the ASC plus T module that we need to remove, so we're going to want to disconnect all the electrical connectors. I don't label any of my connectors because they're all keyed. If you find a way to plug this into there, you know, I'll probably pay you $100. I think labeling is kind of a waste of time because they've already, you can't plug them in the wrong way. So just set them aside. What we need to do now is remove the bolts. We've got, there's this bracket here, specifically to mount this module. We got one here, one at the bottom, and one that I don't think the camera's going to pick up on the other side. So these are also 10mm, but you're going to have to use a wrench. Okay, the camera didn't pick it up. But I removed the bolts here with a wrench, and now this module comes out. So there's actually only the 3 bolts, and this also has its own hose attached to it. I'm just going to move it upwards. There we go, and it just popped out. Oh, important step here. This linkage here, don't be afraid of that. Just, well, let's see if I can do this with one hand. I think I need 2. I'm going to need 2 hands. Let's see if I can. What you want to do to remove it, release tension, pull this up and out. Okay, and then get this the hell out of your way. Alright. Now, I'm going to take off this plastic or rubber piece. That is a gasket seal. You want to take that off and clean around there real nice and clean off, you know, the inside of this before you reassemble it, so you get a nice tight seal. Okay, one in there and one somewhere in there. Let's go ahead and take these off. Still threaded in there. bastard doesn't want to come out. I need 2 hands. Okay, so I got it out. And that's the throttle body disconnects from the intake manifold, and that's how you disconnect everything here. Just try to keep everything together. For the bracket for the traction control module, if you have it, the long screws mount the bracket to the throttle body. The 2 short screws mount the ASC plus T module, top and bottom. And that's it. Assembly is the reverse removal. Oh, you know what? I never pulled out the air box. That's how it should look. Just like that.